Have you ever imagined sitting in courtroom for the third time in 2 months, listening to a judge read accusations you know are completely false, but which are destroying your life anyway? Where every word that comes out of his mouth sounds like a sentence, even when you've done absolutely nothing wrong. Where the system that should protect you and your daughter is being used as a weapon against you by the man you swore to love, but chose to control. Kara Lynch is in that chair. County court. Small room, smelling of old paper and cheap disinfectant. She's alone. She can't afford a lawyer for every hearing anymore, so she represents herself while across the room. Ex-husband Marcus sits with a $600 an hour lawyer, impeccable suit, expression of performative concern perfectly calibrated for a judge. Judge Harrison adjusts his glasses and reads from the paperwork in front of him. Ms. Lynch is being prosecuted for parental alienation, denial of visitation rights as per the custody agreement, and willful violation of a court order regarding parental rights. Every word is a lie. Every accusation is fabricated. But there it is, on official letterhead, with impeccable legal language that makes the lie seem like the truth. Kara tries to speak. Your Honor, none of these allegations, Ms. Lynch. You will have the opportunity to respond. But I must say, this pattern of non-cooperation is worrying. The judge looks at her over his glasses, not with empathy, with the weariness of a man who thinks he's dealing with a difficult mother instead of a victim of systematic abuse. Across the room, Marcus smiles. Small, restrained, not an exuberant victory. The quiet sadism of a predator who knows his prey is cornered and has nowhere to run. Because Marcus, a corporate lawyer, articulate, charming when he needs to, understands something that took Kara 18 months to realize. You don't need physical violence when the legal system is an equally effective weapon. Each bogus lawsuit costs her $3,000 in legal fees she doesn't have. Each hearing is a lost day of work at the hospital where she works as an emergency room nurse. Each accusation ripped from thin air consumes a piece of sanity that is rapidly dwindling. And the judge sees impeccable paperwork. He sees a man in an expensive suit calmly talking about legitimate concerns and denied paternal rights. He sees an exhausted woman, without a lawyer, trying to explain a pattern of abuse that the system doesn't recognize because it comes disguised as proper legal process. The system doesn't see abuse. It only sees an involved father fighting for time with his daughter, and a non-cooperative mother making things difficult. Have you ever been through this? Have you tried to explain to an authority figure, a judge, a police officer, a social worker, that you are being systematically destroyed, but every time you open your mouth, you seem paranoid, defensive, difficult, because abusers are so good at using the right words, the right tone, the right language that it makes you seems like a problem. Stay with me until the end, because what happens when an ex uses the law as a weapon, when they transform a system that should protect into a tool of control, and when the only man willing to see the truth is the sheriff who will risk his badge to defend it. We'll show you the brutal reality of how justice works when power is unbalanced. Marcus filed 7 motions in 18 months, each one alleging that Kara violated something, denied visitation, turned their daughter Emma against him, created an unstable environment, violated a court order. All false, all requiring a legal response, all costing money that completely depleted her savings. And every time Kara thinks it's over, that she can finally breathe, focus on being a mother, live without the constant terror of the next court envelope, Marcus files another one. He keeps the pressure on. He keeps the control. Because for him, this was never about Emma. It was about ensuring that Kara never completely escapes. That even divorced, even with a restraining order, even living in a different house, she's still trapped. Legal abuse. A term most people don't know. A term the system rarely acknowledges, but one that destroys victims just as effectively as physical violence, perhaps even more so. Because physical violence leaves visible bruises, Legal abuse leaves only an exhausted, bankrupt, and desperate woman trying to explain herself to a judge who doesn't believe her. Ms. Lynch, the judge continued, I will schedule a full hearing for next month, but I need you to understand, if this pattern of resistance to visitation continues, I will be forced to consider a custody modification. A father has rights, and a child deserves both parents. Fathers have rights. A phrase that sounds reasonable, fair, until you realize that the father in question strangled the mother 2 years ago. Which rights are being used as an excuse for ongoing harassment? That both parents completely ignores that one of them is dangerous. Kara leaves that courtroom knowing she's losing. Not because she did anything wrong, but because Marcus plays a better game, with better resources, and a system that favors those who speak legal language fluently. But there is a witness in that hallway. A man in uniform who is waiting to testify in a completely different case, who sees Kara leave with red eyes, shoulders hunched under the weight of an injustice that no one else recognizes. Sheriff Ethan Cole, and he's about to do something protocol says not to do, get involved. Personally, in a case that will cost you your badge if you're not careful. But caution has never saved anyone. And Ethan decided long ago, a badge that requires him to ignore injustice isn't worth having. But caution never saved anyone. And Ethan decided a long time ago, a badge that requires you to ignore injustice isn't worth having. He's in the courthouse hallway, waiting to testify in a completely different domestic violence case when he sees Kara emerge from the courtroom. She's not crying, her self-control is too rigid for that. Trained by years of having to maintain composure in court while being systematically torn apart. But the expression on her face tells the whole story. Exhaustion, defeat, and something worse. Resignation. Like someone who has fought for so long and doesn't know if they can take another step. Ethan recognizes her. Not intimately, but professionally. She treated him in the emergency room a year ago when he was elbowed during a complicated arrest. A competent nurse who remained calm even when he was bleeding and angry. Kara Lynch. He remembers the name because she was kind when she didn't need to be. And now she's here, alone, without a lawyer in sight, leaving the courthouse with the expression of someone who has just lost something important. Ethan should move on. Testify in his own case. Leave. It's not his business. He doesn't know the details. And getting involved in someone else's custody dispute, a recipe for trouble. But then she sees who comes out right behind her. Marcus Lynch. The lawyer Ethan recognizes from 2 lawsuits the man filed against the department in the last 3 years. Both alleging excessive force. Both completely unfounded. Both designed not to win, but to cost time, money, reputation, procedural abuse. Ethan knows the pattern. He's seen it before. And seeing Marcus' now $3,000 suit, expensive lawyer by his side, satisfied smile as he watches Kara walk by with hunched shoulders, Ethan recognizes the kind of man he's looking at. Not a legitimate litigant. A predator, using the system as a weapon. Marcus is talking to his lawyer, laughing, relaxed, as if he had just won a game, not ruining the life of his daughter's mother. If any of this has ever happened to you, if you've ever dealt with an ex who uses the courtroom as a battleground, who files lawsuit after lawsuit not to win but to exhaust you, who turns every interaction into a legal nightmare, share it in the comments. Because these stories need to be told, and you're not alone. Ethan makes a decision. He walks over to Kara. She's standing near the elevator, looking at an envelope in her hand. Probably a notification for an upcoming hearing. Another date to worry about. Another day of work to miss. Another piece of peace destroyed. Ms. Lynch. She looks up. Surprise. Sheriff Cole. Recognition flashes across her face. From the emergency room. A year ago. The elbow. Good memory. He pauses. I saw you leaving the hearing, and, sorry if it's intrusive, but it seemed like it was difficult. Kara hesitates. Because instinct, after years of having words used against her, is not to share, not to trust. But there's something in Ethan's expression, not pity, but genuine recognition, that makes her defenses crack slightly. It always is, my ex. She pauses, choosing her words carefully. He's a lawyer, and he uses that. He files motion after motion, all of them false, but all of them demanding that I respond. And each response costs money I don't have. Marcus Lynch. No question. Statement. Do you know him? Professionally? He sued the department twice. Both allegations were unfounded, but both cost months of time and tens of thousands in legal fees, defending him. Ethan looks back to where Marcus is still talking. He plays a specific game. He uses the system not to win, but to punish. Tears well up in Kara's eyes. Because finally someone sees. Someone understands, without her having to explain every detail, justify every decision, prove every claim. Yes, exactly that. But the judge doesn't see it. The judge thinks he's a concerned father and I'm an uncooperative mother. And no matter how many times I explain the pattern, how many times I show that each accusation is false, Marcus, better paperwork, better tone, better lawyer, and you are alone. Yes, her voice breaks. The lawyer I had worked with me at a discount because I'm broke. But I can't even afford a discount anymore. So now I represent myself, and I lose. Every time. If this part resonated with you, if you felt frustrated trying to explain abuse to a system that doesn't want to listen, seeing an articulate person use laws against you, being alone against resources you can't match, leave a like, because recognizing these injustices is the first step to changing them. Ethan processes the information. How long has this been going on? 18 months. Since the divorce was finalized. 7 motions. 4 allegations to Child Protective Services, all unfounded, to contempt petitions, and now this. Parental alienation because my daughter Emma is afraid of him and doesn't want visitation. Pause. She's 6 years old. And she's afraid because he was violent with me. She saw it. But the system doesn't care. The system says a child needs both parents, even when a father is dangerous. Exactly. Kara wipes her eyes. Sorry, I shouldn't be venting to you. You have your own case. You can wait. Ethan leans in slightly. Kara, what Marcus is doing has a name. Litigation abuse. It's when someone uses legal processes not to seek justice, but to harass, intimidate, and financially exhaust. And it's a form of abuse that the system rarely recognizes because it comes disguised as the legitimate exercise of rights. Have you seen this before? I saw it, and I know how it works. The abuser uses knowledge of the system or hires someone who does, to maintain control even after physical separation. Every motion is a way of saying, you'll never escape. Even divorced, I still control you. Pause. And it works because it costs you more than it costs him. Financially and emotionally, Kara feels something she hasn't felt in months. Validation, not pity. Not empty advice like, just ignore it or be an adult, but genuine recognition that what she's going through is real. It's abuse, and it's not her fault. Can you do something? Legally. Ethan hesitates, because an honest answer is complicated. Procedural abuse is difficult to prove. It requires showing a pattern, malicious motive, significant harm, and judges are often reluctant to limit access to court, even when access is abusive. Pause. But I can document it. I can be present. And if Marcus crosses the line into criminal harassment or violation of a restraining order, then I have clear authority. He's too careful for that. He's a lawyer, remember? He knows exactly where the line is and operates a millimeter within it. Men like that eventually slip up. And when they do, they need someone to document it. Someone who believes them. Ethan pulls out a card. He writes his personal number on the back. If anything happens, see me advances, threats, anything you call me. Directly, Kara takes the card as if it were a precious artifact. Why do you care? You don't even know me. Because I've seen this pattern kill people. Not always physically, but emotionally, financially, and because a badge means something, or it should. It means defending those who can't defend themselves, even when the system makes it difficult. If you want to see more stories like this about women confronting unjust systems, about men willing to risk everything to do the right thing, about legal battles that destroy lives while pretending to seek justice, subscribe to the channel, because Kara's journey is only just beginning. And what happens when Sheriff decides that doing the right thing matters more than following protocol? You'll want to see. Kara keeps the card. Thank you for believing. No one else believes. I believe. And she won't fight alone anymore. A promise. Simple, but laden with weight, because Ethan just crossed a line. From professional observer to personal defender, and that choice, it's going to cost him more than he imagines. But some battles are worth the cost. And looking at Kara, at the exhausted mother fighting against a system designed to favor articulate predators, Ethan knows this is one of them. Marcus sees the interaction across the hallway. He sees Sheriff handing over his business card. He sees Kara holding onto it as if it were precious. And he smiles, because she just got more ammunition. Inappropriate involvement between victim and officer. She's going to use that, add it to the next motion. More evidence that Kara is unstable and manipulative. A system that's supposed to protect. Marcus is turning it into a weapon. And the battle to come will test not only Kara and Ethan, but the entire concept of justice in a small town where power, money, and manipulation win over truth 9 times out of 10. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Because to understand why Kara is in that courtroom hallway exhausted, alone, clutching her Sheriff's card as if it were the only thing standing between her and complete collapse, you need to understand the journey that brought her there. Not just 18 months of legal abuse, but 9 years of transformation, from a hopeful young woman into a survivor, struggling to hold on to the pieces of life she has rebuilt. Kara Lynch, 32 years old, emergency room nurse at County General. Divorced for 18 months. Mother of Emma, 6 years old. But 9 years ago, she was a different person. Or perhaps exactly the same person, only seen through a lens of hope instead of brutal experience. She met Marcus when she was 23, a recent nursing graduate, working her first real job in a small emergency room. Marcus was 28, a corporate lawyer at a respected firm, confident in a way she never had been, articulate in a way that made her feel safe. Their first date was coffee, then dinner, then 6 months of dating that seemed like a fairy tale. Marcus was attentive. He called 3 times a day to check on you. Generous, he paid for everything because he earns more. Protective, he didn't like it when Kara went out with friends because those women are a bad influence. Warning signs that Kara didn't recognize because they came packaged in care. They married after 8 months, a small wedding. Kara's family was hesitant to fast, but Marcus was charming. He convinced everyone that he was a good man who loved their daughter. The first year was an adjustment. Marcus decided they lived in an apartment near his office, far from the hospital where Kara worked. It makes more sense. I earn more, so I prioritize my location. He decided how they spent money, a joint account that he monitored. Just being financially responsible. He decided who they socialized with, his colleagues, not hers. Her friends don't like me, and I don't want tension. Subtle control. Progressive. The kind that makes the victim question their own perception, because each individual decision seems reasonable. When Emma was born, Kara was 25. The control intensified. Marcus used her job, minus 12-hour shifts in the emergency room, as evidence of maternal neglect. Emma needs a mother, not a nurse, who works herself to exhaustion. Why do you prioritize strangers over your own daughter? Maybe I should stop working. I earn enough for both of us. Kara almost gave in. But something in her, a survival instinct, perhaps persisted. Work was the only thing Marcus didn't completely control. His only identity outside of wife and mother. Then she continued, and Marcus started climbing. First came emotional isolation. Weeks of silence when Kara displeased others. Then insults. You're selfish, bad mother. Lucky you got married because nobody else would want you. And then, when Emma was 3 years old, physical violence. It started with a shove. Kara said something she doesn't remember what, only that Marcus didn't like it. He pushed her, not hard, but intentionally, to show who was in physical control. She froze, because the push crossed a line that words cannot cross. And Marcus saw that it worked. Then came the slap. Kara questioned where he was until 2 a.m. Marcus responded by slapping her face. Quick, precise, leaving a red mark, but no visible bruise. See what you make me do. See how you provoke me. Blame shifted, responsibility reversed. Abuser 101. Kara first tried to go out when Emma was 4. She packed a bag. She waited for Marcus to go to work. And she was leaving the door when he returned. I forgot my briefcase. He saw the bag. He understood immediately. Where do you think you're going? Leaving. I can't anymore. You can't. With my daughter? I don't think so. His tone changed. Calm. Calculated. More terrifying than yelling. If you try to leave, I'll fight for custody. Total custody. And I'll win. I'm a lawyer with a 6-figure salary. You're a nurse working double shifts who barely sees your own daughter. The judge will look at us and decide who offers stability. It's not you. You are abusive. Prove it. Do you have photos, witnesses, medical reports? No. Then it's your word against mine. And lawyers are very good with words. The threat worked. Kara stayed. 3 more years of slow hell, because her love for Emma overcame her fear of him, and the risk of losing her daughter was worse than suffering abuse. Until the night Marcus climbed up to a chokehold. Kara doesn't remember what she provoked. Maybe dinner wasn't ready. Maybe she responded in a way he didn't like. Details are lost in trauma. She remembers hands around her neck, pressure mounting, vision blurring, Emma screaming in the hallway. Daddy, stop. You're hurting mommy. And then Marcus let go. Not out of conscience. Because Emma would witness it. He went to his room. As if nothing had happened. Kara lay on the floor, breathing, her neck throbbing, and she decided, it ends today, or she'll die. She waited until Marcus fell asleep. She photographed bruises neck, wrists, arms. She filmed a video of him whispering about the abuse. She documented everything she could. And the next morning, when Marcus went to work, Kara picked up Emma and went to a shelter. A shelter for victims of domestic violence. A safe place where Marcus couldn't find her. The shelter's lawyer helped file for an emergency restraining order. With photos, video, and Emma's testimony, the judge granted it. Divorce was war. Marcus hired Richard Bowen, the most expensive and ruthless family lawyer in the county. $600 an hour. Specialists in destroying ex-wives in court. But Kara had evidence. Bruce's video, Emma's testimony in an interview with a social worker. The judge granted primary custody to Kara. Supervised visitation for Marcus, only with a therapist present. 2 hours per week. Permanent restraining order of 500 feet. Victory, Kara thought. Temporary. He found out, because Marcus refused to accept defeat. And he discovered a truth that many abusers discover. Physical violence isn't necessary when the legal system offers a legitimate way to maintain control. In the 18 months since the divorce was finalized, Marcus filed away 7 motions to modify custody, each alleging that Kara violated the agreement, that Emma is suffering, that supervision is unnecessary and punitive. For allegations to Child Protective Services, neglect through excessive shifts, emotional abuse through parental alienation, unsafe home environment, dirty, house lie, each resulting in an invasive investigation that closed without foundation but left trauma. To contempt petitions, alleging that Kara denied supervised visitation, a lie. Marcus counseled, but blamed Kara. That Kara spoke badly of him to Emma, partially true. Kara honestly explained why Dad only sees her with a therapist present. 3 separate motions. Requesting Emma's medical records. Requesting access to the school. Requesting details of Kara's finances to ensure child support is being used appropriately. All false or frivolous. All requiring Kara to hire a lawyer. $300 an hour she can't afford, appear in court, missing a day of work, and prove her innocence. Reversal of justice. The system presumes innocence until proven guilty. But what about in a family court with procedural abuse? The victim needs to prove their innocence repeatedly, and each piece of evidence costs money, time, and sanity. Kara spent $45,000 on legal fees in 18 months. Life savings depleted. Credit destroyed. Working double shifts to pay for a lawyer defending her against allegations that should never have existed. And the emotional impact. Emma developed anxiety. She doesn't want to go to supervised visitation. She cries. She begs. Dad gets angry when I talk about you. He says, "You're bad. That you stole me from him." Real-time brainwashing. But what if Kara refuses to take Emma? Violation of a court order. Contempt of court. Risk of losing custody completely. Perfect trap. Emma suffers if she goes. Kara suffers legal consequences if she doesn't force her way in. And Marcus doesn't want Emma. You want control. He wants to make sure Kara is never completely free. That every decision, every breath, every moment of peace is temporary because the next move is always coming. Legal abuse. A form of violence that the system does not recognize because it comes disguised as the legitimate exercise of paternal rights. And Kara is losing. Not because you did anything wrong, but because Marcus is playing a game the system favors. Articulate lawyer versus exhausted nurse. Impeccable paperwork versus desperate mother trying to explain a pattern no one sees. Until the sheriff is in the courthouse hallway. Until someone finally looks and sees the truth everyone else has ignored. This isn't a family dispute. It's continued abuse through a different method. And recognition. Recognition changes everything. Comment below. This makes sense to me. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because the system's failure is not an accident. It's not isolated incompetence or a specific judge having a bad day. It's design. The family legal system was built on premises that sound noble. A child deserves both parents. Family should resolve differences. Court is a last resort. But these premises assume an equality of power that rarely exists. And when an abuser discovers how to exploit legal language, how to manipulate procedures, how to turn protections into weapons, the system not only fails to protect the victim, the system becomes complicit in continued abuse. And Kara experiences this flaw systematically. Every decision that should protect her becomes a tool that Marcus uses to destroy her. Every time Marcus files a frivolous motion of custody modification based on a fabricated allegation, a contempt petition for an imaginary violation, a request for medical records without justification, Kara has to respond. Legally, formally, with a lawyer. James Wright, the lawyer who has worked with her since the divorce, charges $300 an hour. A reduced rate, normally $450, because he sees what's happening and wants to help. But even with the discount, each motion costs a minimum of $2,000 to $3,000. Research, response, drafting, hearing, follow-up. And Marcus files a new motion every 2 or 3 months. The math is simple and brutal. Kara earns $65,000 a year as a nurse. After taxes, approximately $48,000. Food, rent, for her and utilities, Emma, basic living expenses. Approximately $36,000, leaving $12,000 for everything else. Legal fees in 18 months, $45,000. It doesn't add up. Kara exhausted $15,000 in savings in the first 6 months. Then she started working double shifts, 24 hours straight in the emergency room when she could. sacrificing sleep and time with Emma to pay for a lawyer who defends her against allegations that should never have existed. And now, credit destroyed. Credit cards maxed out. Bank account hovering near zero. And Marcus's next motion has already been dismissed. Every hearing is a lost day of work. The court doesn't care that Kara works in the emergency room, where shift coverage is difficult. Hearing at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. Show up or be considered in contempt. So Kara asks for the day off. And her supervisor, Linda Chen, head nurse with 20 years at the hospital, is losing patience. Kara, can we talk? Linda closes the door to the small office. Tom isn't friendly, of course. This is the 4th time in 2 months that you've needed a day off for court. And before that, 6 times in 6 months. I understand that the family situation is difficult, but we are short-staffed. And when you're not there, the team suffers. Linda, I can't control when X-Files motions, I know, but I also can't ignore the operational impact. Other nurses are complaining. They say you're constantly being held accountable, that it's not fair. I am in court defending myself against false allegations, which may or may not be false. It's not my place to judge, but it is my place to ensure that the department functions. Pause. Kara, you're an excellent nurse. Patients love you. Colleagues respect you. But reliability matters. And recently, you're not reliable. A veiled threat, but clear. Are you saying I'm going to lose my job? I'm saying you need to find a way to balance your personal life and professional responsibilities. Because if this pattern continues, I'll have to consider changes. Code for dismissal. And Marcus. Marcus knows exactly what he's doing. Every motion is deliberately timed to cause maximum disruption. Midweek, midday, forcing Kara to choose between defending herself legally and keeping her job. But the failure goes beyond financial and professional issues. The legal system treats Marcus's procedural abuse as a legitimate family dispute. Judge Harrison, a 60-year-old man with 3 decades at the bank, married for 22 years to a wife who has never worked outside the home, sees Marcus as an involved father, fighting for rights. In the last hearing regarding allegations of parental alienation, Marcus claiming that Kara speaks ill of him to Emma, poisoning their father-daughter relationship. The judge said, Ms. Lynch, I understand that the divorce was difficult. The relationship clearly ended in hostility, but the child deserves both parents. And your pattern of resistance to visitation, combined with the father's repeated allegations of alienation, suggests underlying issues that need to be addressed. Your Honor, I am not resisting visitation. I am following exactly the supervisory order that this court issued, supervision that the father claims is unnecessary, punitive, and detrimental to the development of the father-daughter bond. The judge looks at the paperwork. And frankly, looking at the history here, I question whether supervision is still appropriate. The divorce was 18 months ago. Perhaps it's time to normalize visitation. Supervision was ordered because Mr. Lynch assaulted me, physically, in front of Emma. There are photos. There are allegations of an isolated incident 2 years ago, which Mr. Lynch denies. And since then, no evidence of violent behavior, no arrests, no violation of restraining orders. Because Marcus is meticulous. He's a lawyer. He knows exactly where the legal line lies and operates within it, to the millimeter. Your Honor, with all due respect, this incident was not isolated. It was the culmination of years of abuse. You allege it. He denies it. And Ms. Lynch, I cannot base decisions on unproven allegations. I need concrete evidence. And I see it. Father consistently requesting more time with daughter. Mother resisting. This creates the appearance that you are not acting in the best interests of the child. Inversion of reality. Kara resisting because Emma is terrified becomes evidence that Kara is the problem. Marcus never mentions strangulation. He never mentions years of coercive control. He only focuses on paternal rights being denied and an uncooperative mother preventing a healthy relationship. And the judge. The judge forgets context. He only sees an articulate man in an expensive suit reasonably asking for more time, versus an exhausted woman fighting against every request. The system favors those who present the best arguments, and lawyers always present better arguments than traumatized victims. Child protection services are another front of attack. Marcus filed for reports alleging negligence or abuse by Kara. Each one triggers an automatic investigation. Each investigation is invasive, humiliating, and traumatic. First report: house in unsanitary conditions. Child living in a dirty and chaotic environment. Social worker Jennifer Oakes, a 40-year-old woman with a perpetually tired expression, showed up unannounced at 7 a.m. on Saturday. Ms. Lynch, we received a report of concern regarding the welfare of a minor. I need to inspect the house. Kara still in her pajamas. Emma asleep. Let her in. What else could she do? Refusing is suspicious. Jennifer walked through the small apartment. 2 bedrooms. Clean but lived in. Leftover dinner plates in the sink. Emma's toys on the living room floor. Clean laundry piled on the sofa waiting to be folded. The house seems adequate. A tone of surprise. The report alleged unsanitary conditions. Who wrote the report? Anonymous, but detailed. Specifically mentioned a child in danger. Not anonymous, Marcus, but the system protects reporters. The investigation was closed without merit, but the trauma remained. According to the report, child presenting with bruises. Possible physical abuse. Emma had a large bruise on her arm from a fall in the park, witnessed by 3 other mothers. But Marcus photographed it during a visit and reported it as evidence of abuse. Jennifer returned. She interviewed Emma. Does mom hurt you? Emma, 6 years old, confused and scared, replied, Mommy won't hurt me. I fell on the swing. Dad said mom hurt you. Dad lies. Brutal honesty from a child. The investigation was closed, but Emma developed anxiety about the social worker. When are you coming back? Did I do something wrong? The 3rd and 4th reports were variations. Medical negligence. Kara missed a dentist appointment because she was covering an emergency shift. Unstable home. Environment. Marcus claiming that Kara has different men at home. A complete lie. Each investigation closed without merit. But the cumulative impact. Emma has nightmares. You don't want to go to school some days. She's developed a nervous tic. She bites her nails until they bleed. What if Kara refuses to cooperate with the investigation? It seems like she's hiding something. Guilty until proven innocent. Friends and family don't help. They downplay it. They rationalize Marcus's abuse as a normal custody dispute. Kara's sister, Beth, 35, married to a non-abusive husband, 2 children, said during a family dinner, Kara, I understand things are difficult, but Marcus is Emma's father. He has rights, and maybe if you were more flexible, less defensive, the situation would improve. Flexible. He's destroying me financially, because you are fighting. If you cooperated, you wouldn't need lawyers. You wouldn't need a court. Beth, he strangled me 2 years ago. And you were married. Relationships are complicated. But now you're divorced. Maybe it's time to leave the past in the past and focus on healthy co-parenting. By Emma. As if strangulation is a relationship complication. As if an abuser deserves forgiveness and cooperation because time has passed. And when Kara tries to explain legal abuse, he files motion after motion. All of them false. To exhaust me, either he's genuinely concerned about his daughter, and you're interpreting it as an attack because you're still angry about the divorce. Beth sighs. Kara, you need to be an adult. For Emma's sake. She deserves both parents without constant drama. Drama. As if terror is drama. As if systematic, financial, and emotional destruction is the tantrum of a bitter ex-wife, and Kara's father, Robert, 65, retired, is even worse. Girl, you made your bed. You married him. You had a child with him. Now you have to deal with the consequences. And that means shared custody, whether you like it or not. The entire system, legal, social, familial, fails because it was built on the premise that both parents are good until proven otherwise, and proving otherwise requires evidence that a clever abuser never leaves. Marcus doesn't hit anymore. He doesn't threaten directly. He uses the right words, the right paperwork, the right procedures. And the system calls this a legitimate exercise of rights, instead of what it really is: continued abuse through a different method. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because the moment where Ethan Cole relists Garon as an abstract case or statistic of domestic violence, but as a person being systematically destroyed while the system watches is no accident, she is the result of experience, pattern recognition, and a conscious choice to pay attention when it would be easier to move on. And that attention, that is the first crack in the isolation that Marcus has built around Kara, as meticulously as he has constructed a legal case against her. Sheriff Ethan Cole, 38 years old, born and raised in the county. 20 years in law enforcement, started as a deputy at 18, worked his way up to sheriff at 35. He knows the system, he knows the law, and he knows how both can be manipulated by people who understand legal jargon better than ethics. And Ethan knows Marcus Lynch. Not personally, not socially, but professionally. Marcus occasionally represents clients in civil lawsuits against departments. 2 cases in the last 5 years, both alleging excessive force, both without merit, both designed not to win but to cost time, money, reputation. For the first time, Marcus represented a man who alleged that a deputy used excessive force during a DUI arrest. Body cam video clearly showed that resistance came from the suspect, and that the deputy followed protocol exactly. But Marcus dragged the case out for 18 months. Depositions, motions, hearings. It cost the department $80,000 in legal fees before it was finally dismissed. Second time, similar. Marcus claimed the department violated a client's civil rights during the search. The warrant was valid. The search was legal. But Marcus found technicalities to question, procedures to challenge. Another 12 months. Another $60,000. Then Ethan recognizes the kind of man Marcus is. A lawyer who uses the system not to seek justice, but to punish, exhaust, and control through endless litigation. And Ethan also knows Kara, vaguely. She treated him in the emergency room a year ago when he was elbowed in the face during a violent arrest. The suspect was on methamphetamine. Ethan needed 6 stitches. Kara was the nurse who treated him, professional, competent, steady hands as she cleaned the wound. A calm voice even when Ethan was angry and bleeding. It's going to hurt a little, but it needs to be done right, and gentle. Not with pity, he would hate that, but with genuine humanity. Are you okay? Besides the physical, adrenaline can be intense after a confrontation. Ethan remembers her as a good nurse, the kind who cares about patients as people, not just cases. So when he sees her in court, he's there testifying in a completely unrelated domestic violence case. Recognition is immediate, followed by concern. Because Kara sitting on the hallway bench isn't the woman he remembers. Or maybe she is, but a broken version. Too thin, deep dark circles under her eyes, hands clasped tightly in her lap, turning her knuckles white, and the expression on her face isn't normal courtroom anxiety. It's something deeper. Existential exhaustion, defeat, like someone who has fought for so long that she doesn't know if she can take another step. Ethan watches Marcus leave the courtroom. He's laughing, talking to a lawyer, Richard Bowen, a man Ethan recognizes as the most expensive and ruthless lawyer in the county. Marcus is relaxed, confident, a predator's smile, knowing his prey is cornered. And then the door opens again. They call Kara's name. She gets up slowly, adjusts her blazer, which was already perfectly fitted, a nervous gesture, and she enters, alone. No lawyer visible beside her. The hearing lasts 15 minutes. Ethan is waiting to testify in an adjacent room, but hears fragments through the door. Judge's voice, Formal. Impatient. Kara's voice, trying to explain, interrupted. When the door opens, Kara emerges with red eyes. Not crying control is too rigid, honed through years of maintaining composure, while the world crumbles. But clearly devastated, she walks quickly toward the elevator. She doesn't look back. She probably doesn't want anyone to see her. Ethan should leave it alone. It's none of his business. He doesn't know the details. And getting involved. Unnecessary complications. But something in him, an instinct that comes from 2 decades of seeing victims, or a memory of a sister who went through something similar, or just basic human decency, prevents him from ignoring it. He approaches Ms. Lynch. Kara, she looks up. Surprise. Embarrassment crosses her face. Sheriff Cole. Recognition. From the emergency room. It's not a good time. I saw you leaving the hearing. It seemed difficult. Tears threatened to well up, but she forces them back. It always is. But, she gestures vaguely. It's none of your business. I'm sorry I saw your ex leaving. Marcus Lynch. She stops. Do you know him? Professionally, he sued the department twice. He lost both times. Because the allegations were frivolous, but they cost him significant time and money. He plays a specific game. He uses the system not to win, but to punish. Pause. Is he doing the same to you? Kara hesitates, because instinct, after 18 months of having words used against her, is not to share, not to trust. But something in Ethan's expression, not pity, but genuine recognition, makes her defenses crack. 7 motions in 18 months. All alleging that I violated custody, that I neglected my daughter Emma, that I alienated her against him. All completely false. But I need to defend each one. And each defense costs. Her voice breaks. She can't finish the sentence. Ethan sees. He truly sees. Not superficially, but deeply, because he recognizes patterns. He's seen it before in cases of domestic violence, where the abuser uses the legal system as an extension of control when physical violence no longer works. Procedural abuse. What? It's a legal term. Litigation. Abuse. When someone uses legal processes not to seek legitimate justice, but to harass, intimidate, and financially and emotionally exhaust someone. Ethan keeps his voice low. Gentle but clear. And it's a form of abuse that the system rarely recognizes because it comes perfectly disguised as the legitimate exercise of legal rights. Tears finally fall. Kara doesn't try to stop them anymore. Nobody sees it. The judge thinks Marcus is a legitimately concerned father fighting for time with his daughter. My friends tell me to be an adult and cooperate. My family thinks I'm being dramatic. But I'm being systematically destroyed, and nobody believes me because he uses the right words and the right paperwork, and the right tone, I believe. Simple, direct, no qualifications needed. Kara looks at him, searching for signs of pity or distrust or judgment. She finds only honesty. Why? You don't even know me. You don't even know the details. I know what I need to know. I saw Marcus operate. I saw the pattern. And I recognize the type. Ethan pauses. Men like Marcus follow a specific playbook. Control through physical violence first. When the victim escapes or the system finally intervenes, they switch to control through the law. Because the legal system offers a legitimate way to continue abuse without criminal consequences. How do you know that? 20 years in law enforcement. I've seen women destroyed through frivolous motions. False allegations to CPS, baseless, contempt petitions, always by the same type of man, articulate, charming, knows exactly how to manipulate the system, pause, and almost always, victim has a history of physical domestic violence, restraining order, contested divorce, and the abuser doesn't accept losing control. So he uses the law to maintain it. Kara feels such intense relief that she almost collapses. No one else understood it. No one saw a pattern. Everyone thinks it's just a normal custody battle. No, it's not. It's Continued abuse through a different method. Ethan looks around. The hallway is emptying. May I ask? How long has this been going on? 18 months, since the divorce was finalized. And before that, 7 years of marriage where he controlled me, isolated me, eventually physically assaulted me. I left. I got a restraining order. Primary custody of Emma with supervised visitation for him. I thought it was over. Her voice is bitter. I was wrong. He just changed his methods. And financially, bankrupt. I spent all my savings. I worked double shifts to pay for a lawyer, and even then, I barely manage. In the last motion, I had to represent myself, and I lost, obviously, because the system favors articulation over truth. Yes. Kara wipes her face. Sorry, I shouldn't be venting. Can you do something legally? Not an apology. A practical question. Ethan wants to say yes, absolutely. He wants to make sure he can fix it. But honesty matters. It's complicated. Procedural abuse exists as a legal concept, but proving it is difficult. It requires demonstrating a pattern, malicious motive, significant harm, and judges are reluctant to limit access to court, even when access is clearly abusive. So there's nothing there. I didn't say that. I said it's complicated, but I can document it. I can be present at hearings as a witness of standard. I can connect you with resources lawyers specializing in procedural abuse, organizations that help victims. Pause. And if Marcus crosses the line into criminal harassment or violation of a restraining order, then I have clear authority, and I will use it. Kara feels a small, fragile sense of hope. Thank you for believing, for seeing what no one else saw. Ethan pulls out a card. He writes his personal number on the back. My cell phone. If anything happens, any approach from Marcus, any threat, anything that seems to cross the line, you call. Directly. No dispatch, no 911. Me. Is this appropriate? For Sheriff. It's appropriate to protect citizens, and you're being victimized by a system that fails to recognize that. So yes, it's appropriate. He hands her the card. And Kara, you're not alone anymore. Not completely. A promise. Small, but real. And for the first time in 18 months, Kara feels something beyond despair. The possibility that someone finally sees, believes, and will act. Comment below. This makes sense to me. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because the event that truly connects Ethan and Karatha, one that transforms the abstract promise of being there into concrete action, that proves words written on a card are more than just empty kindness, doesn't happen in a courtroom or during a planned conversation. It happens in a moment of terror. When Marcus decides to test limits, when the system that should protect them once again reveals its flaws, and when Ethan has to choose between following exact procedure or doing the right thing even, when right crosses the lines that protocol dictates. It's Friday night, late November. The air is cold enough to make your breath mist. Kara is leaving County General after a 12-hour shift. It started at 11 a.m. and ended at 11 p.m., a brutal shift. 3 trauma cases, to cardiac arrests, countless minor cases. She's exhausted in a way that goes beyond the physical. Exhaustion that seeps into her bones and makes every movement require conscious effort. The employee parking lot is almost empty. Only 6 cars remain. The night shift crew started at 7 p.m. Lighting is inadequate. 2 of the 5 light poles have been out for weeks. Maintenance was scheduled but never carried out. Kara walks to her Honda Civic, 15 years old. 180,000 miles. But it works. And it's hers. One of the few things Marcus couldn't take in the divorce. She's 3 meters away when she sees a figure leaning against her car. Not by chance. Deliberate. Waiting. Marcus. Terror is immediate. Visceral. Kara stops. Every instinct screams. Corey, but where to? Back to the hospital. He'll just wait. Go to a colleague's car. He'll put others in danger. Marcus pushes himself out of the car. He doesn't approach. He just stays there, 5 feet away. technically not violating her space, but blocking the driver's path. Kara, we need to talk. You are violating a restraining order. Leave now or I'll call the police. About what? Being in a public parking lot. He smiles. The kind of smile she knows all too well. Predator playing with prey. Lawyer, remember? I know exactly where the legal line is. And technically, I'm on public property. I didn't approach you. I didn't touch you. You came to me. If anyone is violating personal space, it's you. Legalism. Always legalism with Marcus. The word of the law, without the spirit. The order says 500 feet. It doesn't matter who approaches whom. The order states 500 feet from residence, workplace, and places you frequent regularly. Parking is ambiguous. A competent lawyer would argue that public area adjacent to the workplace doesn't count. Pause. And I got here first. I've been here for hours, waiting. Kara feels nauseous. You're stalking me. I am exercising my right to be in a public space. That's a crucial difference. Marcus, go away. I'm not going to talk to you, but I'm going to talk to you. About Emma. About how you're poisoning her against me. About the next motion I'm filing Monday morning. Custody modification. This time, I'm going to allege that you're fundamentally unstable. Constant double shifts. Neglect. You barely see your own daughter. You work 60, 70 hours a week. Who takes care of Emma? Random nannies. That's not a stable environment. Emma goes to licensed daycare and after school. How much does it cost? $1,200 a month. Money you barely have because you spend it all on lawyers defending against me. He leans in. Not close enough to touch, but close enough to intimidate. And I have witnesses. Neighbors who will tell you that Emma comes home late, cries often, seems scared of you. Lies. All lies. Those are her words against my witnesses. And Kara, which judge is going to believe her? A respected lawyer with a 6-figure income, offering a stable home. Or an overworked, bankrupt nurse, barely making ends meet. Her smile widens. I'm going to win custody. And you'll have supervised visitation, if you're lucky. Because I'm going to paint you as a danger to Emma, and the system. Will believe it. Kara picks up the phone with a trembling hand. She dials 911. Marcus laughs. Humorless sound. Call. Explain to the dispatcher that the ex-husband is in a public parking lot. See if they arrest him. See if they take him seriously. But Kara doesn't complete the call. Because she remembers, card, handwritten number on the back. Ethan said nothing. She dials 911, searches for her card in her purse, finds it, dials her personal number. Ethan answers on the second ring. Kara, no. Hello. He recognized the number, or saved it. Marcus is here. County General parking lot. Violating order. Are you safe? Where exactly? Employee parking lot. East side. It's right next to my car. It won't let me in. Don't leave your spot. Don't approach him. Stay visible. Cameras or witnesses if possible. 2 minutes. The line doesn't disconnect. Ethan keeps it open. Kara hears a siren on the phone before hearing it live. 90 seconds. Car pulls into parking lot. Lights on. No. Siren now. Ethan gets out before the car comes to a complete stop. He sees the situation immediately. Marcus is leaning against Kara's Honda. Kara is 10 feet away, holding her phone. Their posture tells a story predator and prey. Marcus Lynch. Step away from the vehicle. Now. Marcus doesn't move. Sheriff Dawson. What a quick response. Almost like he was expecting a call. Or, he looks at Kara like you have a personal relationship with a whistleblower. Move away from the vehicle. Just having a conversation with my ex-wife in a public parking lot. There is no law against it. You have a restraining order within 500 feet. County General is listed as her workplace. The parking lot where she works is an extension of that, and you're 3 feet from her vehicle. Ethan approaches. Hand near the gun but not on it. Clear violation. Technically, the order specifies a building. not adjacent parking. And I'm on public property. Technically, it's a violation, and I'm going to arrest him for contempt of court. Marcus hardens. His mask of charm slips slightly. This is harassment, abuse of authority. I'm going to file a complaint with your captain, with the mayor, with anyone who will listen. File it away. But now, you're under arrest. Turn around. Hands behind your back. That's ridiculous. I didn't do anything. You violated a court order. In front of a witness, Ethan gestures to Kara, and in front of a law enforcement officer, turn around. I'm not going to. Ask again. Marcus assesses. He calculates. He realizes that resisting will only worsen the situation. He turns around. He puts his hands behind his back. Ethan puts on handcuffs. Not brutally, but firmly. And reads rights in a clear, formal voice. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Marcus interrupts. I know my rights. I'm a lawyer, so you know you have the right to a lawyer. And you're going to need a good one. Ethan guides Marcus to the police car, puts him in the back, closes the door. Then it goes back to Kara. She's standing exactly where she was, trembling, not from the cold. Are you well? Yes. No. I don't know. Words tumble out. Thank you, he said. He's going to file more motions, claim that I'm unstable, that I work too much, that Emma is in danger with me. Let him try. Now there's documented evidence of his arrest. Violation of a court order. Witnessed by an officer. This isn't a custody dispute. Criminal behavior. And the judge will see the difference. But Marcus is a lawyer. He'll find a way around it. He'll say the order was ambiguous, that it happened in a public space, that the arrest was without probable cause. You can try. But I was here. I saw his position. I heard the threats he made. And I will testify in a criminal hearing. And if he files another custody motion, I'll testify there too, about the pattern, about this being continued abuse, not parental concern. Kara feels tears welling up in her eyes. Are you going to risk this? Testify in a custody case. Marcus will claim we have a relationship, that you're biased. That testimony is personal, not professional. Let him claim it. The truth is, I witnessed a crime. I documented a pattern of procedural abuse, and I'm going to say exactly that in court. If Marcus wants to take it personally, that's his problem. Pause. But Kara, he's not entirely wrong about one thing. This has become personal for me. Not romantic, but personal. Because I saw women die because the system failed. And I'm not going to let you be close. Why is it so important? Because it's the right job. Simple. But Kara sees something more in his eyes. Something that goes beyond duty. Ethan helps her into the car. He checks that the door's locked. Go straight home. Call when you get there. And Kara, this arrest is a game changer. Marcus crossed a line that can't be excused with legalism. And I'm going to make sure the consequences are real. Kara drives home, her hands still trembling. But for the first time since Marcus showed up in the parking lot, she feels something beyond terror. Hope that maybe, finally, the system will see what she saw years ago. And in the patrol car, Marcus sits in silence, planning, because prison isn't defeat, it's ammunition. Sheriff, with personal involvement arrested without probable cause, will be dismissed, and I'll use it in the next motion. Evidence that Kara manipulates authorities through inappropriate relationships. The war is far from over, but the battlefield has changed. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because Marcus's arrest a moment that should have been a turning point, concrete proof that he violates orders, disregards boundaries, and continues to harass Kara doesn't stop the escalation. It transforms it. It intensifies it. It reveals a hidden truth about how abusers with legal knowledge operate. Every action against them becomes ammunition. Every attempt at protection becomes evidence of manipulation. And the system favors those who best perform victimization, not those who truly suffer. Marcus is released in 6 hours, Bail of $500, the minimum for violating a restraining order. No flight risk. His own lawyer representing him. And before sunrise, before Kara can process that Emma is safe for another night, Marcus is already at work. He doesn't sleep. He plans. Because for him, prison isn't humiliation or a consequence. It's a declaration of war. And war requires a coordinated, massive response designed to completely destroy. Monday morning, 8 a.m. 3 documents are filed simultaneously in court. Emergency motion for temporary custody alleging mother has demonstrated extreme instability and a willingness to fabricate criminal allegations against father. Last Friday, Ms. Lynch used a personal connection with the local sheriff to orchestrate a false arrest based on an alleged violation that did not occur. Father was in a public parking lot, violating no laws, but he was arrested, handcuffed, and publicly humiliated based solely on her word. This demonstrates the lengths Ms. Lynch will go to alienate father from daughter. Emma is not safe in an environment where her mother uses authority figures as personal weapons. Emergency temporary custody is necessary to protect the minor from further psychological harm. Petition for contempt against Kara, alleging Ms. Lynch violated a court order by using false allegations of rape to harass her father. She fabricated a threat where none existed. She manipulated a law enforcement officer through inappropriate personal relationships, and she caused a false arrest that resulted in professional and reputational damage to Ms. Lynch. This constitutes contempt of court and warrants. Sanctions. Formal complaint against Sheriff Ethan Cole filed with the department captain, mayor, and county board of supervisors, alleging Sheriff Cole effected an arrest without probable cause based on a personal relationship with the complainant. The restraining order specifies 500 feet of residence. It does not mention work parking. Mr. Lynch was on public property, violating no law. But Sheriff Cole, who apparently has Ms. Lynch's personal number and answers her calls within minutes, chose to interpret the order expansively to harass Mr. Lynch. This is abuse of authority, targeted harassment, and possible civil conspiracy to deny Mr. Lynch's parental rights through false criminalization. 3. Attacks, simultaneous, legal, coordinated, and designed to completely overwhelm. Kara receives a summons at 10 a.m. A bailiff knocks on the door while she's getting Emma ready for school. Thick envelope, formal. She opens it with trembling hands. Emergency hearing. County Court, Wednesday, 2 p.m. RE. Temporary custody of minor. 48 hours. And if she loses, Emma goes to live with Marcus. Temporarily. Which always becomes permanent. The system decides that stability matters more than security. Kara calls James Wright, her lawyer, who is already working at a 40% discount because she's bankrupt, and he sees what Marcus is doing. Kara, I saw the motions. They've just been archived. 48 hours. How do I prepare a defense in 48 hours? With difficulty, brutal honesty, and Kara needs to understand. Marcus is playing perfectly into the judge, who has already questioned his cooperation. Judge Harrison is traditional. He believes in paternal rights. And now Marcus has sheriff's arrest as evidence that you are, well, using the improper system. I used it correctly. Marcus violated the order in a public parking lot, which order doesn't specifically mention. Technically, Marcus has a legal parking spot, and with a complaint against sheriff alleging that you two have a personal relationship. James pauses. It's going to look like you conspired. We conspired? Against what? Against the abuser who strangled me. I know. But Marcus will argue that the arrest was excessive, that you manipulated the sheriff through personal connections, that this is your pattern of using authority to harass a legitimate father. Longer pause. And frankly, the judge can buy it, because Marcus knows how to present it. Emergency hearing Wednesday at 2 p.m. Kara is there with James. Marcus is there with Richard Bowona, $600 an hour lawyer, who seems more like a CEO than a litigator. Judge Harrison enters. 62 years old, 3 decades on the bench. A perpetually weary expression of a man who has seen 1,000 family disputes and considers them all equally dramatic. Bowen presents the case first. Calm voice, reasonable, tone of someone simply seeking obvious justice. Your Honor, my client is being systematically harassed. For 18 months, Ms. Lynch has used every available mechanism to alienate him from his daughter. False allegations to CPS all dismissed without merit. Constant resistance to visitation. And now, a fabricated arrest through a personal connection with the local sheriff. Bowen puts out documents, copies of arrest report, restraint order, parking map, showing it's public property. Ms. Lynch called, not 911, as a reasonable citizen would, but Sheriff Cole's personal cell phone number, who responded in 90 seconds, not minutes, seconds, and arrested my client without question, without investigating, just arrested him, based purely on her word. The judge looks at Ethan. Sheriff Cole, did you arrest Mr. Lynch? Yes, Your Honor, for violating a restraining order in a public parking lot where Ms. Lynch works, which I consider an extension of protected space under order. The order specifies 500 feet of her residence. I read it. It doesn't mention her workplace. It mentions places where the victim is regularly present. The hospital is her workplace. The parking lot is where she accesses work. That's a generous interpretation. Sheriff, some would say, creative. The judge pauses. And you based that interpretation on what? Evidence, or a personal relationship with the whistleblower? Based on Mr. Lynch's pattern of harassment, the pattern alleged by Ms. Lynch, with whom you apparently have. The judge consults paperwork, her personal cell phone number saved, responds to calls within minutes. This suggests a relationship that goes beyond professional, an insinuation hanging in the air. And Marcus, sitting next to Bowen, smiles slightly. The satisfaction of a predator who sees his trap working. James tries to intervene. Your Honor, Sheriff Cole acted appropriately. Mr. Lynch has a documented history of domestic violence. 2 years ago, alleged, never criminally prosecuted, because Ms. Lynch was too terrified to press charges at the time. But there are photos, medical reports, an isolated incident that Mr. Lynch denies. And since then, no violence, no arrests before this one. No evidence of threatening behavior, except her allegations. The judge looks at Kara. Ms. Lynch, this pattern is troubling. You file repeated allegations. You resist visitation. And now you use authorities with whom you apparently have a personal connection to harass your daughter's father. Your Honor, Marcus strangled me. It's documented, it's alleged. Crucial difference. Judge closes file. And frankly, Mr. Lynch's arrest appears to be an improper use of the system. He was in a public space. He didn't threaten, he didn't touch, but he was arrested, publicly, based on an expansive interpretation of an order that doesn't support such action. He was stalking or exercising the right to be in a public space. Interpretation depends on perspective. In Ms. Lynch, your perspective is becoming increasingly questionable. The judge pauses, considering the pattern of non-cooperation, repeated allegations, and now the use of authority to harass her father. I will grant Ms. Lynch temporary emergency custody. The world stops. Kara can't breathe. No, Your Honor, please. Emma is afraid of him. Emma will be interviewed by an independent assessor. Whether the fear is legitimate or the result of parental alienation will be determined. In the meantime, Mr. Lynch has custody. Effective transfer today. 6 p.m. today. I can't even get Emma ready. The abrupt transition is regrettable, but necessary given the seriousness of the allegations. Mr. Lynch will pick up the minor at 6 p.m. at Ms. Lynch's residence, with an officer present to ensure a peaceful transfer. The judge bangs the gavel. The hearing ends. Kara can't move. James puts his hand on her shoulder. Let's appeal. Immediately, the appeal takes weeks. Emma will be with him for weeks. I know. But it's a process. And Kara, he hesitates, needs to consider. Sheriff Cole's presence may be making the situation worse. Marcus is using that as evidence of her instability. So I let Marcus terrorize me. I'm not saying that. But maybe distance. For now, Kara leaves the courthouse, devastated. The system that was supposed to protect her just gave her daughter to an abuser. Based on pretty paperwork, convincing performance, and manipulation of her every attempt to seek protection. Comment below. This makes sense to me. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Because the dilemma Ethan faces when he arrives at that house, when he sees 6-year-old Emma clinging to her mother, screaming, terrified in the way only a genuinely traumatized child screams, is not abstract or theoretical. It's concrete, immediate. It's a choice between doing what technically requires and doing what conscience absolutely demands. And the hidden truth about applying the law when the law fails. There is no right answer, only a choice between two wrongs. And Ethan needs to decide which wrong he can live with. The court order is clear, unequivocal. Emergency, temporary custody granted to Marcus Lynch, effective immediately. Transfer at 6 p.m. today. Signed by Judge Harrison. Legitimate, enforceable. And Sheriff has a constitutional duty to enforce court orders, even when he disagrees, even when the order seems unjust. Because the alternative is chaos. Each officer deciding which laws to apply based on personal feeling. But theory meets reality at 6:05 p.m. when Ethan arrives at Kara's house and sees Emma, a 6-year-old child, brown hair in a ponytail, a blue dress that Kara probably carefully chose this morning, and an expression of pure terror that no child should have. She's behind Kara, arms wrapped around her mother's waist, crying so intensely she can barely breathe. Not a performative tantrum. Genuine terror. I don't want to go with Dad. Mom, please. He gets angry. He says, "You're mean. Please don't make me go." Marcus is on the balcony. His suit is still impeccable from the 2 p.m. courtroom. His expression is exaggeratedly patient. "Emma, darling, don't be dramatic. Let's have some fun. Pizza, a movie, anything you like." "I don't want to." You yell, and you say bad things about Mommy, because Mom says bad things about me. But we'll work on it, together. A reasonable tone. But Emma doesn't buy it. Kara is trying to keep her composure, but she's breaking down. "Marcus," she's terrified. "Can't you see that? Can't you just wait, let her process it? The order says today. And if you resist, you commit contempt, and the judge will know that you're forcing Emma to fear me." More evidence of parental alienation. He looks at the court officer Tom Rivera. "Mr. Rivera, are you documenting her refusal?" Tom seems deeply uncomfortable. A 50-year-old man, a veteran. He's seen many bad custody transfers. But work is work. "Ms. Lynch, I understand this is difficult, but the court order is valid. You must hand over the minor or face legal consequences. She's 6 years old. She's scared. You can't just force her. We can. And we will." Marcus steps forward. "Emma, come with Daddy. Now." Emma screams, a high-pitched, desperate sound. And Kara does what any mother would do, holds her daughter tighter, retreats inside the house, closes the door partially. No, not like this. Not while she's so scared, so she's officially violating a court order. Marcus turns to Tom. "Document it. I'll file a contempt of court motion in the morning. And this time, the judge will see. She's not protecting Emma. She's using Emma as a weapon." Tom calls. The radio. "Dispatch. I need backup. 247 Maple Street. Custody dispute. Mother refusing. Court order. Sending unit." Ethan hears the call. He's 3 blocks away. He should send Deputy Johnson Closer available. But it's Kara's case. An instinct screams that if Johnson goes young, by protocol, without context, it will force a traumatic transfer. Dispatch, this is Sheriff. I'm responding. Arrive in 10 minutes. See the scene immediately. Kara at the door, holding Emma, who is hysterical. Marcus. And Tom on the balcony. Tension so thick it could cut. Sheriff. Marcus wastes no time. Ms. Lynch is violating a court order. She is refusing to hand over a minor as per the emergency custody order granted today. The order is valid, but she is in contempt. Ethan looks at Tom. Has the order been verified? Yes, Sheriff. Legitimate. Signed by Judge Harrison this morning. Emergency temporary custody for Mr. Lynch. Effective transfer today. Tom hands over a copy. Ethan reads. Every word is a blow, because an order is legal, technically correct, and it is his duty to enforce it. But then look at Kara. You don't see a manipulative or alienating mother. You see a desperate woman protecting her daughter against a system that has failed so completely that it granted custody to a documented abuser based on a 3-hour court performance. And look at Emma, 6 years old. She should be worried about dolls or drawings, not about being torn from her mother and given to a man who terrorizes her. Ethan faces a career-defining choice, maybe even a life-defining one. Option A. Enforce the order. Force Kara to hand over Emma. Use force if necessary, because the law is the law, and a sheriff who chooses which orders to follow isn't a sheriff. He's a vigilante. Option B. Refuse. Find a technicality. Buy time. Protect the child even knowing it will cost you a badge, reputation, possibly freedom if Marcus sues for obstruction of justice. There is no option C. There is no clean solution. Marcus, can I see the complete order? Have you seen, can I see page 2? Firm but not aggressive tone. Marcus hands over the envelope. Ethan reads it slowly, searching for any clause, any language that might provide leeway. And it is found, buried in paragraph 4. Transfer of custody must occur in a safe and appropriate environment, with the presence of a neutral official to ensure the well-being of the minor. Tom, did you facilitate conversations about transition? Did you explain the process to Emma? Did you prepare to minimize trauma? I tried, Sheriff, but the smaller one is extremely resistant, because she's terrified. Ethan looks at Marcus. The order specifies safe environment. A screaming child, panicked, clearly traumatized, that's not safe. It's harmful. Sheriff, it's not up to you to interpret. It's my responsibility to ensure proper execution. And forcing a traumatic transfer that harms the well-being of a minor violates the spirit of order. Ethan turns to Tom. Let's do it differently. Transition tomorrow. Neutral environment. Child therapist's office. With a professional present to facilitate and minimize trauma. This is not in order. The order says safe and appropriate environment. This isn't. That will be. Ethan maintains a professional tone. Tom, do you agree that forcing a child in this state causes harm? Tom hesitates. He looks at Emma still, screaming, clinging to Kara. Then he nods. Yes, I agree. Transition should be less traumatic. So we postponed it for 24 hours. Marcus, can you agree? No. The order says today. The order says safe. The sheriff is interpreting that today is not safe. Tomorrow, with therapy, it will be. Tom maintains a neutral expression. If you disagree, you can file an emergency motion with the judge. But I'm not going to force a traumatized 6-year-old child today. Marcus realizes he has lost. Temporarily. His expression hardens. The mask of a worried father slips away for a second. I'm going to file it away. Tonight, and Sheriff Cole. His voice is icy. You just violated a court order. Publicly, in front of witnesses. You added obstruction of justice to your growing list of inappropriate actions. The captain will know. The mayor will know. And the judge. He'll know that you and Ms. Lynch conspired to defy his order. Marcus goes, walking slowly, performatively, showing that he's not afraid. just waiting. Tom stays. Sheriff, I need to report this. I have to, I know, report it. I did what my conscience demanded. What if it costs me my badge? Ethan looks at Emma still, trembling but no longer yelling. It's worth it. Tom nods. He leaves, and Ethan stays with Kara and Emma. The door is still ajar. No one moves for a long time. Thank you. Kara's voice breaks. You didn't need to do that. You took a risk. I needed it. Because a badge that requires me to traumatize a 6-year-old child isn't worth having. He crouches down, looks at Emma. Hey, are you okay? Emma nods, wiping her face. Did you stop Dad from taking me? That's it for today. Tomorrow we'll do something different. We'll work with someone who helps children to make it less scary. Okay, small voice. Ethan stands up. He looks at Kara. Marcus will use this. He'll claim I obstructed justice, that we conspired. The judge will question my decision. Then don't do it tomorrow. Let another officer handle it. No, I'll go in person. I'll make sure the transfer is done with a therapist. Carefully, because Emma deserves it. Pause. And Kara, I bought 24 hours. Use it. Prepare Emma as best you can. Explain that it will be temporary. That mommy will fight, but don't resist tomorrow. Because then, I can't help. I understand. Ethan leaves. And he knows. He bought time. But it came at a cost. Marcus will file the motion tonight. The captain will question him in the morning. And the badge he wore for 20 years. It might not survive a week. But, looking back, seeing Emma finally breathing normally, Kara holding her daughter, he knows. He did the right thing. Even if the system punishes doing the right thing. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Because what happens in the 2 weeks after Ethan buys time for care after Emma is finally released in a less traumatic environment. After Marcus obtains temporary custody that they both know he will fight to make permanent ease, not just legal preparation or courtroom strategy. It's the transformation of a professional alliance into something deeper, more personal. Built not on romance or attraction, but on shared vulnerability over the real cost of challenging a system that punishes those who do right. That first night, after Emma finally falls asleep, exhausted from crying for hours, her small body trembling even in her sleep, Kara sits on the back porch. She can't go inside. The house is too quiet without her daughter. The air is cold. November turning into December. Cold is preferable to silence. Ethan is finishing up paperwork in a police car parked on the street. Incident report regarding delayed custody transfer. Justification for the decision. Documentation that will go into permanent filing. And probably for investigation when Marcus files the complaint. He sees a light on in the back porch. A faint glow through the fence. And he knows Kara isn't okay. How could she be? Ethan gets out of the car. He walks to the front door. He knocks lightly. 2 knocks. Gentle ones. Kara answers. Red eyes. Blushed face. She didn't try to hide the signs of crying. Sheriff Cole, did something happen? No, I just saw a light. And I thought, you must be sleeping. I can't. Tomorrow I need to wake up without my daughter here. And the day after tomorrow. And then, for 2 weeks. And maybe forever if the hearing doesn't go well. Her voice breaks. How can I sleep, knowing this? Ethan has no answer. Because there is no answer that fixes anything. May I come in? Kara steps aside. She lets him pass. They go out onto the back porch. They sit in old plastic chairs that came with the rented house. Silence at first. Not uncomfortable, just heavy. Laden with everything that cannot be said. Thank you. Kara finally speaks. For today. For buying time. For not forcing Emma when she was so scared. Even knowing the cost. I had no choice. I couldn't do that. To force a traumatized child, because a piece of paper says, so, a badge isn't worth that. Marcus is going to use this against you. He's already filed a motion. I received notification. Alleging that you obstructed justice. that we conspired, that our relationship is inappropriate. Pause. Is the captain going to question this? Probably. I already received an email from him. Urgent meeting tomorrow at 8 a.m. No translation needed. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for you to lose. Don't lose your badge. Yet. A small, humorless smile. And if I do lose, never mind. I did the right thing. And if the system punishes doing the right thing, he looks at her. Then the system needs to change, or I don't belong in it. Kara wipes her eyes. How do you do this? How do you choose right when it costs everything? When it would be easier to just follow procedure, ignore it. Ethan is quiet for a moment. Because I learned something. Compromise becomes a habit. You compromise once because it's convenient. Just this once, then a second time because it's practical. The situation is complicated. Eventually, you compromise so much that you become someone you don't recognize in the mirror. Pause, and would rather lose a badge than lose the ability to look in the mirror and see a decent person. Kara understands deeply, because she made similar choices. She stayed in her marriage with Marcus 3 years longer than she should have left, trying to make it work, saying it's just a phase, until she realized she was losing who she was, that the woman in the mirror was a strange, frightened person, not the strong person she used to be. I did the opposite, she admits. I compromised. For years, I stayed when I should have left. I justified his violence as stress, as my fault for provoking it. Until I almost died. Literally his hands around my neck. Emma screaming. And I thought, if I stay one more day, I die. Or worse, Emma grows up thinking this is love. But you left. Eventually, almost too late. And I discovered, leaving doesn't end the abuse. It just changes the method. Now it's court. Motions, allegations, CPS, the legal system as a weapon. Her voice hardens, and the system helps. The judge sees an articulate lawyer and believes them, sees an exhausted mother and questions them. The system is broken. For cases like yours, like so many others, and you're risking your career to fix it. I'm not fixing it. I can't. The system is too big, but I can do right in individual cases. In your case, in Emma's case, pause. What if everyone did that? If every officer, every judge, every lawyer chose to do right instead of what's convenient, the system would change. But they don't change. No, the majority don't change, because the cost is high, and the majority don't want to pay. But you pay, because the alternative is living with guilt. And I already carry enough. In the following days, preparation for the inevitable begins. Emma stays with Marcus. And it's just as bad as Kara feared. Night 2. The phone rings. 10 p.m. Marcus's number. But Emma's voice. Mommy. Emma. Darling. Are you alright? Dad, let me call. He says I have 5 minutes. Small voice. Scared. Okay. Tell me. How are you? I don't like it here. His apartment is big. But it's not a home. And he gets angry when I talk about you. He says you abandoned me, that you chose work over me. Emma, that's not true. Mommy didn't abandon you. The judge said you need to stay with Daddy temporarily. Dad says it's because you're a bad mother, that he proved it, that I'm going to live here forever. Emma starts to cry. I want to go home. I want you. I know, dear. And Mommy is fighting. There's going to be a hearing, and Mommy is going to explain to the judge. Marcus's voice in the background. Emma, time's up. Hang up. But Mom, now. The line dies. Kara holds the phone, devastated, and she calls Ethan. Not 911. Not an emergency. She just needs to talk to someone who understands. He answers. Immediately. Kara. Emma called. Marcus let her in. 5 minutes. And she used every minute to say that I abandoned her. That I'm a bad mother. That she's going to stay with him forever. Sobs. She's brainwashing me. Live. And I can't do anything about it. Document it. Record the next call if possible. This is evidence of parental alienation. but from him, not you. Marcus will say that he's just correcting my lies. Let him try. Emma is 6 years old. Her voice, her words, genuine fear. Hard to fake. Pause. Hold on. 2 weeks. Then the hearing. And I'll testify. Ethan, you've already risked too much, and I'm going to risk more. Because Emma deserves it. You deserve it. His voice softens. And Kara, you're not alone. No matter what Marcus says, no matter what the system does, you're not alone. Ethan checks in daily, not always in person. Sometimes by text message. How are you? Did you eat anything? Did you sleep? Not romantic, not crossing the line. Just present, consistently. And Kara replies, honestly, terrible no. 2 hours. After a week, Ethan shows up with food, Chinese. I don't know if you like it, but you need to eat something besides coffee. Kara almost cried with gratitude. Thank you. You didn't have to, I needed it. Because the hearing is in a week, and you need strength to fight. And you don't have strength if you don't eat. They eat together, in silence at first. Then they talk. Did the captain suspend you? Kara asks. No. Formal warning. Questionable judgment, but not suspension. Pause. Yet, Marcus is going to climb. Leave him alone. I have 20 years of service. They're not going to remove me because of an incident where I protected a minor. They'll paint Marcus as the standard. False arrest allegation, obstruction of court order, inappropriate relationship with me. Kara pauses. Ethan, maybe you should distance yourself until the hearing to protect you. No, but no, Kara, because distance means you face it alone, and you faced it alone for too long. He keeps his eyes on her. And yes, Marcus will explore. He'll claim a relationship. He'll question my motives. But the truth is I saw a pattern. I documented it. I witnessed his behavior. And I'll say this under oath. What if the judge doesn't believe it? So at least I tried. And I can sleep knowing I did everything I could. Silence. Kara processes. Thank you for not giving up when it would have been easier, always, and something happens between them. Not romance too complicated, too entangled in trauma in the legal system, but connection, recognition of shared values, of choosing the difficult option when the easy one was available. The hearing is drawing closer. Emma calls 3 more times. Each time, her voice is smaller, more defeated. Dad says that if the judge decides I get custody, you can only see me once a month. Is that true? I don't know, darling. But Mommy will fight. Dad says you're not going to win. That the judge sees the truth. That you're trouble. Systematic brainwashing. And it works. Emma begins to question. She begins to believe. And Kara survives one day at a time. With Ethan checking in. With James building a case. With fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, the system will see the truth this time. But they both know Marcus plays the better game, with better resources, and a system that favors articulation over truth. Comment below. This makes sense to me. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Because the hearing that decides Emma's fate, that determines whether the 6-year-old returns to her protective mother, or stays with her father, who uses her as a weapon, is not just about custody. It's theater, performance, a battle of narratives where truth matters less than who tells the most convincing story. And what happens in that courtroom will reveal not only who wins, but that Marcus was playing a completely different game from the start. The hearing takes place on a Thursday, exactly 2 weeks since temporary custody was granted. Small courtroom, Judge Harrison presiding. Kara is with James, right? Marcus is with Richard Bowen, and Ethan is in the gallery not in uniform, civilian clothes, because the presence of a uniformed sheriff could unduly influence the proceedings. Bowen presents Marcus's case first. Calm voice, reasonable, tone of someone simply seeking what's best for the child. Your Honor, over. These past 2 weeks, Emma has thrived with my client. structured routine, regular meals, quality time without the stress of a mother working double shifts and being rarely present. Emma has expressed, and we have recordings, a preference for being with her father. He plays a recording. Audio of Emma, clearly recorded on Marcus's phone. Emma, are you happy here with Daddy? Yes. Small voice, hesitant. And do you want to stay? Try. Why? Because Dad doesn't work all the time. And we have time together. The words sound rehearsed, like a child repeating a script. And when you think about Mom, long pause. Mom works a lot and gets tired. And sometimes I think she doesn't want to spend time with me. Kara feels stabbed, because those are Marcus's words, put in Emma's mouth. Manipulation so obvious to anyone who knows tactics. But to a judge, it sounds like a child's spontaneous confession. James counterattacks. Your Honor, this recording is clearly coerced. A 6-year-old child doesn't speak like that naturally. And Ms. Lynch works because she needs to pay astronomical legal costs for defending against Mr. Lynch's constant frivolous motions. Motions I am seeking because I am concerned about my daughter's well-being. 7 motions in 24 months. All without merit, all costing thousands. This is not a concern. It's attrition warfare. Bowen smiles. The lawyer is exaggerating. My client exercised his legal rights. He abused the legal system, and we have a witness who can testify about this pattern. Jamishama, Ethan stands up. He walks forward. He takes the oath. He sits in the witness chair under the scrutinizing gaze of everyone. James begins. Sheriff Cole, can you describe your interactions with Mr. Lynch? I've known Mr. Lynch professionally for 5 years. He has sued the department twice. Both lawsuits were for excessive force. Both were without merit. Both were designed not to win, but to waste time and money. Objection. Speculation about motivation. Supported. Sheriff, stick to the observed facts. Ethan adjusts. Both cases were dismissed, but they took months and cost over $140,000 in combined defense legal fees. And is it standard with Ms. Lynch? I observed a similar pattern. In 24 months, Mr. Lynch filed 7 motions, modifying custody, for reports to CPS all closed without merit, to contempt petitions, and his arrest was a direct result of him violating a restraining order while at her workplace. Sheriff Bowen stands up. Arrest, that was questionable at best. Stalking at worst. The judge intervenes. Mr. Bowen, you will have the opportunity to ask questions. Bowen smiles. Thank you, Your Excellency. And I'll be going. James continues. Sheriff, based on experience, is this the behavior of a concerned father? No. It's abuser behavior, using the legal system as an extension of control when physical violence no longer works. Objection. A witness is not a psychologist. I'm a law enforcement officer with 20 years of experience in domestic violence cases. I've seen this pattern dozens of times, and the pattern here is identical. The judge is considering it. I'll allow it. But that's a professional opinion, not a fact. James concludes. No further questions. Bowen gets up and attacks. Sheriff Cole, do you have a personal relationship with Ms. Lynch? Professional. Does she have her personal cell phone number? Yes. Gave it because I recognized I was in danger. Personal number, not departmental line. Personal. Correct. Correct. And when she called on the night of my client's arrest, how quickly did you respond? 90 seconds. 90 seconds. Personal number. At 11 p.m. that seems personal, not professional. I responded because I recognized the danger. Either because he is emotionally involved with Ms. Lynch, and my client's imprisonment was a result of that involvement. Not probable. Legitimate cause. As probable cause was a violation of order in a public parking lot. The order is unspecified. Generous interpretation at best. Abuse of authority at worst. Bowen approaches. Sheriff, be honest. Do you personally care about Ms. Lynch? A moment of truth. Ethan can lie. He can say no, purely professional. But lying under oath is perjury. I care that a citizen is being victimized. I care that the system is failing. If this is personal, then yes, I care. So you acknowledge emotional involvement that compromises objectivity. I acknowledge that I witnessed injustice and acted as a badge of honor demands, or as your heart desires. Bowen smiles. No more questions. Damage done, seed planted. An emotionally compromised sheriff is not a reliable witness. Judge Harrison deliberates for 15 minutes. He returns with a decision. I reviewed the evidence carefully. Testimony from both sides. And the situation is complicated. Mr. Lynch raises valid concerns about parental alienation. Emma's recording is troubling. But, he pauses. Sheriff Cole also raises valid points about the pattern of frivolous motions. 7 motions in 24 months is excessive, even for a concerned father. Kara holds her breath. Considering everything, I will restore primary custody to Ms. Lynch. Emma returns to her mother's home. Mr. Lynch retains supervised visitation rights, as per the original divorce order, 2 hours per week, with a therapist. Present, relief explodes in Kara. Tears. She can't hold them back. However, the judge continues. Both parties will participate in mandatory mediation with a court-approved mediator. The goal is to reduce conflict and establish functional co-parenting. Because this, he gestures to a stack of motions, needs to end. For Emma, the gavel falls, the hearing ends. Kara turns to James. She hugs him. We won. Emma's back. Yes, but it's a partial victory. Marcus still has visitation rights. And mediation is going to be difficult. Kara doesn't care. Emma is coming back today. That's all that matters. But while Kara celebrates, Ethan watches Marcus, and he sees something that freezes blood. Marcus isn't upset, not frustrated. He's satisfied. A small smile appears as he organizes papers. He speaks quietly with Bowen. He nods, as if everything is going according to plan. Ethan approaches after the room empties. Marcus, sheriff, cordial tone. Congratulations. Your testimony was convincing, although compromised. You're not upset. Why? Marcus smiles. Because I got what I wanted. Lost custody, temporarily, but I got something better. Documentation of your involvement with Kara, a recording of Emma preferring to stay with me, a pattern of alienation that the judge recognized, and now, he leans in, mediation, where I'll slowly build my case, showing that I cooperate, that I try, while Kara, well, she resists, as always. And in 6 months, when she comes back asking for a modification, I'll have evidence that she's the problem, not me. He's playing the long game. I always have been. A custody battle isn't a sprint. It's a marathon. And you? Marcus looks at Ethan. Thank you for your involvement. Because when you prove Kara is unfit, your connection to her will be further evidence of her instability. Mother dependent on emotionally compromised sheriff for function. Doesn't sound good. Marcus leaves, and Ethan realizes today's victory wasn't a victory, it was a chess move, and Marcus is playing 3 moves ahead. Kara picks Emma up that night, at Marcus's apartment. With James present, Emma runs to her, hugs her. Mom, the judge said I can stay with you. Yes, dear, come home. And in that moment, it's worth it. Every penny, every tear, every sleepless night. But Ethan knows, and he'll tell Kara when the time is right. This isn't over. Marcus is only just beginning, and the next attack will be worse. Because now he knows exactly which buttons to push, which weaknesses to exploit. And their biggest weakness, the connection between Kara and Ethan, which Marcus will turn into a weapon. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Because the envelope that arrives 3 days after the court victory after Kara finally breathes a sigh of relief, thinking the worst is over, After Emma returns home and starts sleeping without nightmares. After it seems the system finally worked, reveals a devastating truth. Marcus was never playing the custody game. He was playing a game of total destruction. And every move Kara and Ethan made, exactly what he wanted. Because the legal battle was a distraction. Theater. While everyone focused on hearings and motions, Marcus was building something far more dangerous behind the scenes. The envelope arrives on a Monday morning. Kara is getting Emma ready for school. First week back to normal routine. Emma is smiling, eating cereal, talking about an art project she wants to do. Normality. Fragile, but real. A knock on the door. Mail carrier with a certified envelope. Thick, official, government agency stamp. Kara signs. Opens while Emma brushes her teeth. Child Protection Services Department. Formal investigation notification. Blood drains from her face. Her hands begin to tremble. The complaint was received on December 2nd, alleging concerns about the welfare of a minor, Emma Lynch, age 6. Allegations include 1. Emotional abuse through systematic parental alienation. 2. Neglect through excessive working hours, leaving a minor in inadequate care. 3. Unstable home environment evidenced by inappropriate relationship with law enforcement officer. 4. Manipulating a minor to make false allegations against a parent. A formal investigation has been initiated. Mandatory interviews will be scheduled with Emma Lynch, minor, Kara Lynch, mother, guardian. Any adult residing in or regularly attending a residence, code for Ethan. Marcus knows, and he's forcing CPS to question it. Failure to fully cooperate may result in emergency removal of the minor for protective placement while investigation continues. At the bottom, a handwritten note from a social worker. Investigation based on a detailed report by Marcus Lynch, including recordings of a minor expressing preference for their father and fear of their mother. Photographic evidence of the home environment. Testimony from neighbors about the mother's erratic behavior, and documentation of the use of authority figures for harassment. Kara can't breathe. Emma comes back from the bathroom. Mom, why are you crying? Nothing, dear. Mom just received a sad letter, but she'll be all right. A lie. Everything is falling apart. Kara calls James. Her hands are shaking so much she almost drops the phone. James, CPS. Formal investigation. Marcus reported. I saw it. I received a copy too. Kara, we need to talk. In person now. She takes Emma to school. Then she goes to James's office. He has an expression she's never seen before. Not worry. Fear. He never wanted custody, James says as soon as she sits down. Not permanently. The whole legal battle was a distraction. Theater to build evidence. Evidence of what? That you're an inadequate mother. Every motion you filed. Every allegation. Every recording of Emma. You were building a dossier for CPS. Because CPS operates differently from a court. Standard of evidence is lower. Preponderance of evidence instead of beyond a reasonable doubt. And it can remove a child based on risk, not proof of harm. So what? CPS investigates. Finds. What? Clean house. Emma happy. And they close the case. In an ideal world, yes. But Marcus is smart. He planted evidence. Recordings where Emma says she prefers to stay with him. Photos probably taken during visitation that could be interpreted as worrying. Testimony from neighbors, which he probably paid for or manipulated. James pauses. In his relationship with Sheriff Cole. We don't have a relationship. CPS will question. Why does the law enforcement officer have your personal number? Why does he respond in minutes? Why did he testify in your favor, risking his career? And Marcus will paint this as evidence of instability. A mother who inappropriately depends on a man. Kara feels nauseous. So I lose Emma. After winning custody, if CPS determines grounds that there is reasonable basis for concern, they may remove Emma temporarily. Placement in foster care, or James hesitates. with appropriate relative code for Marcus. This can't be right, it's completely legal. CPS has broad authority when they believe a child is at risk, and risk is subjective. Marcus built a case that you create risk through alienation, neglect, and an unstable environment. And I can't appeal. There's nothing to appeal. CPS isn't a judicial process, it's an administrative action. You can contest it eventually, but it takes months. And in the meantime, pause. Emma stays where CPS puts her, which will be Marcus. Because he's a stable father with adequate rent, offering a safe home. So he wins. Completely. Without a court. Without a judge. Just CPS. Yes. Unless we can prove that Marcus orchestrated everything. That his report is a malicious fabrication. But proving that, James shakes his head. Difficult. Very difficult. Kara calls Ethan. She can't wait. She needs to hear his voice. She doesn't know what. She just needs to. Ethan. Her voice breaks immediately. CPS. Marcus reported it. Formal investigation. And they're going to question you, your presence, and use that as evidence that I'm unstable. Breathe. Where are you? James' office. Ethan. What do I do? Stay here. I'll be there in 10 minutes. He arrives at 8. He reads the CPS notification. His expression hardens with each line. Marcus played chess while we played checkers. He finally says, temporary. Custody was a test. He saw how the system works. He recorded Emma saying things he could use, and every motion he filed. He built a non-cooperative mother narrative. Now he's handing it all over to CPS, packaged in an impeccable dossier. And his presence. Will he use it? He's already using it. Look here. Ethan points to the line. Unstable domestic environment evidenced by an inappropriate relationship with law enforcement officer. That's me. And CPS will question it. Why is the sheriff so involved? Is this appropriate? What message does it send to the child? So what? You step away? To protect? No. Firm. Because removing him now admits there was something inappropriate. It gives Marcus reason to be right. Ethan pauses. But, Kara, you need to understand. If CPS questions my presence and decides it creates an unstable environment, the decision could be to remove Emma, temporarily, for her own good, and temporary becomes permanent when Marcus offers to take custody. So, he wins. After all, we can't prove any pattern before CPS decides, but we need solid evidence. Documentation that Marcus fabricated the report. Witnesses who contradict his claims. Something that shows systematic manipulation. How? He's a lawyer. He knows how to cover his tracks. So we look for clues he didn't notice. Neighbors who witness things but don't exist. Photos that are dated incorrectly. Recordings that show coercion. Ethan looks at her. But we need to do it fast. CPS acts in weeks, not months. But what none of them know what they can't know, while they're planning a desperate defenses, that Marcus is already 3 steps ahead. At his house, away from the eyes of Kara or Ethan or any witnesses, Marcus sits with Richard Bowen. Documents are scattered on a table. Strategy is being refined. CPS will investigate, Marcus says. Satisfaction in his voice. They're going to interview Emma, and I'll prepare her. Carefully. No obvious coercion, just context. Remember, when Mom got angry because you spoke well of Dad? Remember when Mom said Dad is dangerous? Plant seeds. Let Emma connect the dots. And physical evidence. Photographs of her apartment during the visit when I picked up Emma. Not manipulated, just selected. Angles that make the place look chaotic, messy, unsuitable environment for a child. Marcus slides photos across the table. Bowen examines. The house isn't dirty, but the photos are taken in ways that exaggerate normal disorder. Toys on the floor look chaotic. Dishes in the sink look neglected. Clothes in the laundry basket look unsanitary. Genial. Sheriff Coolio. That's the best part. Marcus smiles. CPS will question his presence. Why is a law enforcement officer so personally involved? And when they question him, they'll suggest the environment is unstable. Child confused by non-father figure in prominent role, and the decision will be, remove Emma, temporarily, for protection, and you offer to take custody. As a proper father with a stable home, CPS grants it, legal, clean, and Kara can't appeal because there's no court case. Just administrative action by CPS, protecting the child. And what happens when she tries to get Emma back? It takes months, hearings, appraisals, and each month Emma stays with me. The more stability I demonstrate, until the judge eventually decides it's best for the child to stay where she is, not to disturb her life again. Marcus leans back. I'm going to get full custody, not through a court that Kara can fight, but through CPS that she can't control. Bowen smiles. And Sheriff, his badge. CPS will recommend that he maintain an appropriate distance from cases involving minors. If he refuses, I raise concerns about his captaincy. Officer not maintaining professional boundaries, his badge will be off, or at least his career permanently tarnished. So you destroy them both. Kara loses Emma, Ethan loses his badge, and me. I get custody of my daughter, and the control I should always have had. Marcus organizes paperwork, because it was never about custody. It was about ensuring Kara loses everything, as punishment for daring to leave, for daring to defy, and the system. The system helps me do this, legally, perfectly. Kara doesn't know this yet, but she's about to find out when the social worker calls to schedule the first interview. And when she realizes the full extent of Marcus's manipulation, when she understands that every move she and Ethan made was anticipated, exploited, weaponized, she faced an impossible choice, protecting Ethan by pushing him away, but losing the only ally he has. Or accept his help, knowing that his presence is exactly what Marcus uses to destroy her. There is no right answer, just a choice between two sacrifices. And Marcus knows this. He built the perfect trap where every exit leads to defeat, and Marcus knows this. He built the perfect trap where every exit leads to defeat. Because the truth about abusers who understand the legal system, they don't need to win in court. They just need to weaponize the system, turning it into something that continues to hurt even after the victim escapes. And Marcus did exactly that. He turned every protection restraining order, custody, even the sheriff trying to help into evidence against Kara. Legal abuse at its most sophisticated, most destructive, most impossible to combat. Over the next 72 hours, Kara will face an interview with CPS. Emma will be questioned gently, professionally, but in ways a 6-year-old doesn't understand. She's being evaluated. And Ethan will be asked about the nature of his involvement with Kara. Each answer will determine whether Emma stays at home or is removed temporarily for protection. And Marcus will wait. Because you've already done the work. You've already planted the seeds. The system is now doing the dirty work for him. Kara sits with Ethan the night before the first interview. Emma is asleep. The house is quiet, except for the sound of rain hitting the windows. You should step away, she says. Not for the first time. To protect yourself. And maybe if you're not present, CPS doesn't have evidence of an unstable environment, and you're facing this alone. Against Marcus, who has infinite resources and zero conscience. Ethan shakes his head. No, but his badge, it may or may not survive. But it won't survive in the version of me that abandons someone when things get tough. So I stay. And I face questions from CPS, and I explain the truth. I saw a pattern of procedural abuse. I acted, and if CPS interprets that as inappropriate, that's their problem, not mine. Kara feels tears welling up in her eyes. Thank you for not giving up. When everyone else gave up. Always. One word. But it carries the weight of a promise that goes beyond the professional. A promise that crossed lines weeks ago. A promise that both now acknowledge, but neither names, because naming names complicates things legally. So they just sit in silence. To people who chose to do right when it was easier to do wrong, knowing that choice can cost everything. If you've made it this far, if this story of an ex using the legal system as a weapon, of a mother fighting unseen manipulation, of a sheriff risking his badge because doing the right thing matters more than following procedure has touched you, it's because you understand a brutal truth. Abuse doesn't end when the victim leaves. It just changes its method. And the system that should protect, it often becomes a tool for abusers who know how to speak the right language. Kara is about to face CPS. Marcus has built the perfect case. And every move she makes, every ally she accepts, every defense she mounts could be used against her. Emma goes to sleep unaware that tomorrow, a social worker will ask her kind questions that will determine her future. How honest answers from a 6-year-old can be interpreted as evidence of alienation or abuse. Ethan will testify, knowing that honesty about caring could cost him his badge. But lying under oath would be betraying everything he believes in. And Marcus has already won in his mind, because he's built a game that nobody can beat. They just have to choose which defeat to accept. If this kind of story resonates with you want to see how Kara confronts CPS, whether Emma stays or is removed, whether Ethan loses his badge defending principles, whether Marcus finally makes a mistake that exposes manipulation. Subscribing here is the way to continue walking this path with me. Because this journey isn't over. The toughest battle is just beginning, and you deserve to see every moment. Comment below. I'm with you until the end, because when you leave that comment, you're saying more than just that you liked the story. You're saying you understand that single mothers facing abusive exes with resources aren't being dramatic. They're surviving a system designed to favor those who speak best, not those who suffer most. That officers who risk their careers to do the right thing deserve to be recognized, not punished. And that legal abuse is real, devastating, and rarely acknowledged. And if this touched you in any way, if you felt anger towards Marcus manipulating the system, fear for Emma, hope for Kara and Ethan, frustration at CPS being used as a weapon, leave a like so I know. Because this engagement tells me that stories like this matter. That exposing legal manipulation saves lives. That showing the reality of procedural abuse helps victims know they are not alone. And there's a video here that continues in the same vein, exploring what happens when the CPS interview begins. When Emma is questioned by a stranger about how she feels about mom, when Ethan needs to explain why he cares, knowing that honesty can cost everything. When Kara discovers exactly how Marcus planted evidence, and when everyone needs to decide, how much are they willing to lose to do the right thing? Click and follow along there. Why the truth about abusers like Marcus? They count on the victim giving up, on the system failing, on everyone looking the other way because it's easier. But Kara didn't give up. Ethan didn't look the other way. And Emma deserves to see that adults can do the right thing even when it costs them. The system is broken. Marcus exploited every crack. And the battle to come will test not only Kara and Ethan, but the entire idea that justice exists for those who can't afford a $600 an hour lawyer. CPS will make judgments based on evidence planted by the abuser. Emma will answer questions that a child shouldn't have to answer. And the decision about her future will be made not by those who love her, but by strangers operating on a pattern of evidence that favors Marcus. Unfair, absolutely, real, every day. And Kara and Ethan are about to find out. Doing the right thing is enough when the entire system is against you. See you next time. Because Emma deserves an ending where her mother wins, and you deserve to see if it happens. Stories that matter never end easily. And this, it's far, far from over. But the next chapter, where everything that has been built is tested, where Marcus finally makes a mistake, or where the system proves that protections are illusions, is waiting, and you won't want to miss it.